I think one of the areas too that Impact Collective tries to give some help and support is to those that we would call allies, those that have been invited to help share on the addiction journey. And that's often a journey in and of itself, to be an ally for someone. And there's often wonder and worry about what can I do to best be of help and how do I manage this. The key, first and foremost, is the best piece of advice we could ever give to an ally is don't lose sight of the whole person that you're trying to help and support, right? Their area of struggle is not the entirety of who they are. Make sure you still see all of their strengths, all of their accomplishments, all of their talents, everything else that makes them who they are. And don't allow this area of struggle to completely define your view of them, and don't let it completely define your relationship as well. Be there for them in their struggle and make sure there's abilities to talk about that, and talk about that in direct and plain and sometimes even challenging ways if needed. But make sure your relationship also has a lot of everything else that you enjoy about them and that is a key part of your relationship. Another key advice that we'd give to allies is remember that a lapse is not necessarily a relapse. There will be expected here for there to be some struggle and some stumble along the way. There's a false notion that's kind of generally assumed that if a person trying to overcome an addiction or an area of struggle or improve areas of mental health, that if they have a little bit of a slip or a lapse, there's almost this sense of, oh, well, now you're right back at square one. You're right back at where you started. Nothing could be further from the truth, and nothing is more discouraging and steals hopefulness away than the idea that I'm just back at square one, right? We know that in areas of compulsion and addiction, that kind of thinking leads to people often going on binges and engaging in their problematic behaviors more than ever because they feel so hopeless and they feel like they've just slid all the way back. So be careful and be mindful about how you respond to a lapse, right? We want to provide accountability. We don't want to let it just pass and say that's not of significance, but we want to be mindful that we still help see that trajectory of hope. And this was a lapse, but it's not a relapse. Let's stay on course. Let's keep things moving in that way. One of our biggest goals as allies is to be the fountain of hope that is often slips away from people that are grappling with compulsion and addiction. So always offering hope, always offering encouragement, always seeing a different and better future. And sharing that with that individual is one of the greatest things we can do for them as an ally.